Welcome back to the Morning Kickoff Show. I'm your host, Matt Witt, and we have breaking news. The Minnesota Vikings have acquired Pro Bowl tight end TJ Hockenson via trade with the division rival Detroit Lions. The Minnesota Vikings, we knew, were interested in adding another playmaker by the NFL trade deadline, and they did so by adding one of the most productive tight ends in this league just 3 hours before the trade deadline. The Minnesota Vikings gave up a total of 4 draft picks, according to Ian Rappaport. A huge deal with the Vikings sending a 2023 second rounder and a 2024 fourth rounder for Hockenson, a 2023 fourth rounder and a 2024 conditional fourth rounder for TJ Hockenson. That is a total of 4 draft picks to add what could be an X factor for this Minnesota Vikings to make a Super Bowl push in 2022 and 2023 season. The Minnesota Vikings make a massive move upgrading at the tight end position. After suffering with a loss from Irv Smith Jr., which was a high ankle sprain this last Sunday, now the Vikings have upgraded at what might have been one of the only missing pieces for this Minnesota Vikings offense. This Vikings offense is loaded with all pros and Pro Bowlers, with Justin Jefferson being arguably the best receiver in the league, Dalvin Cook still being one of the best backs this league has seen in a long time. And on top of this, you have Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and now TJ Hockenson. What are defenses going to be able to do against this Minnesota Vikings offense? And this is why going forward, I mentioned how I was a big fan of the Minnesota Vikings acquiring another weapon. Now, we saw that with the trade rumors with Mike Gesicki and Dalvin Cook, that it was looking, or not Dalvin Cook, different Cook, Mike Gesicki and Brandon Cook, that it was looking like a possibility that the Vikings decide to upgrade on offense, and they did so by adding a young 25-year-old tight end for 4 draft picks, and one of them didn't have to be a first rounder. This is great news for the Minnesota Vikings. And on top of this, TJ Hockenson isn't going to be as expensive as some of these other playmakers that we would add would have been. We talked about possibly bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. or bringing in Brandon Cooks or Mike Gesicki. Instead, we're bringing up an even younger guy who's just getting started. Now, realistically, TJ Hockenson, in my opinion, hasn't hit the ceiling in this league yet because he's played with the Detroit Lions. And I'm so intrigued to see how he can look in this Minnesota Vikings offense because his floor is so high. We saw how productive he can be on the Lions offense. How productive can he be when he's playing alongside what might be the best receiving core in this league right now? Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne. It's going to be so interesting to watch what Kevin O'Connell has in store for this Minnesota Vikings team. When the Vikings brought in Kevin O'Connell, I mentioned how this was a massive turning point for this team. Kevin O'Connell was, in my opinion, and you can go back, he was, in my opinion, one of the best hirings, and at the point when we hired him was the best option the Vikings had, because obviously I was interested in Brian Dable and a couple of other guys, but Kevin O'Connell was the only one available that I was still that interested in, and that's why I'm so stoked that we have Kevin O'Connell's team, who's already changed this Minnesota Vikings atmosphere and is looking to not only change this Minnesota Vikings atmosphere from what was last year, but change it from last 3 years disappointment into a Super Bowl team. And that's exactly what the Vikings are doing here, because this is a Super Bowl push. This could be a massive X factor on our offense that could give us that edge going forward. Now, at what cost? And I mentioned this many times. Obviously, the Vikings are not in a good salary cap situation, and we can pull it up right here. And this is very brutal. They haven't updated it. Team cap space was only $850K after acquiring TJ Hockenson. We're in salary cap hell. His contract isn't as big because he is still on his rookie deal, and they did approve his 5th-year option. So we will have TJ Hockenson not only for the rest of this season. After we win a Super Bowl, we're going to have him the next year after that. So we'll have TJ Hockenson for a couple of years now, which is great, or a year and a half technically, which is great news, because the Lions did approve his 5th-year option. That aside, looking at it right now, our focus has to really be on paying Justin Jefferson. And I've mentioned this for years now, since we saw how good Justin Jefferson was after his rookie season, how we have to continue to focus on paying him. And now with the addition of TJ Hockenson, yes, we can hold on to Hockenson throughout his deal. The focus has to be, how can we get this money to Justin Jefferson? Because he deserves to be the highest paid receiver in this league right now. And this is the problem, because obviously we're going to lose some playmakers here. And this is why the Vikings, this is our Super Bowl push right here. And then take a look at TJ Hockenson so far this season. Now, it's a piss poor offense he played on. Like I mentioned before, his ceiling is so high under this Kevin O'Connell offense where he's playing alongside so many playmakers. But TJ Hockenson, when looking at the Detroit Lions, you don't think of them as a passing team right now. With Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift being a great running back duo, TJ Hockenson is part of the reason the running back duo has been so good. He's great into run blocking, great into pass protection, and he can make plays. And that's why he is possibly going to be that X factor for the Minnesota Vikings that defenses just won't be able to stop, because they're designed to stop our receiving core, designed to stop our running back duo. Now adding TJ Hockenson, who 26 receptions so far this season, 395 yards and 3 touchdowns is very respectful. But I think more importantly is just the fact that he's assisted DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams to have great seasons so far. And he might be the best the best receiving playmaker on their offense right now, or was on their offense, I mean to say, for the Detroit Lions. Now he's going into an offense where we're not asking him to be that big red zone target. We're not asking him to be that big 10 targets a game guy on Minnesota Vikings. But what we are asking him is to be able to turn us into a team who can score every trip to the red zone, a team who can score, or a team who can convert every time on passing down, 3rd and 4th down. That's where TJ Hockenson is going to play an important role under Kevin O'Connell and on this Minnesota Vikings offense. Let me know what y'all think.